PSG versus Inter tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. What takeaway will you be getting for this?
A good question. I haven't even thought about that.
Well, now is the time to think.
We'll be getting one.
Yeah, I thought about this earlier.
So will the rest of the nation, by the way. So I would order it about 5 o'clock.
Yeah, true. I actually thought to myself earlier, I might get a Five Guys for the final.
Naughty.
Yeah,
Proper naughty.
I don't do that very often. I have some slight concerns about the quality of the food when it travels.
It doesn't feel very portable to me.
Chips don't travel well.
No, well, you just pop them in the oven.
I know, Jim, but it's not the same, is it? It's not the same.
It's that or go to the Five Guys, isn't it? You don't want to do that.
Well,
They're not going to be showing the game.
It depends on the geographical distance away you are.
It does.
But, for a while, Meat Liquor stopped doing fries delivered. They were like for the same reason you've just said.
I like that, and I do like a Meat Liquor.
So I think,
for the record.
So I think I'll probably do Five Guys. Look, whatever you do, it's going to be a delicious feast of football entertainment, presumably.
Yeah.
Unless Inter have their way. Then we'll kick the shit out of everyone.
Hang on about.
No, they're good.
Inter and their incredibly tight quarterfinal.
Yeah, no, I'm joking.
Come on, look at that semi-final.
No,
I know the semi-finals are always more entertaining than the final, but if that's something to go on, Luke Moore,
I know
eat those words of yours.
But I'm just thinking about last time they won it.
But they've been in the final since then,
have.
and to be fair, they didn't score, and they bloody should have scored.
They should have.
But is that previous game though in the final? That's the kind of thing that sharpens the focus a bit more, Andy. We saw that. I'm going to compare them to Newcastle United with the League Cup finals. They had the disappointment and really should have should have got to extra time because they missed some chances. I know PSG have been in a final fairly recently, but only Marquinhos is left over from that team.
I don't think there really is the comparison with the Newcastle thing, because if you go back
both wear stripes.
Yeah. If you go back to Inter the season before last, if you go back to Inter the season before last, they're actually the better team for most of the final. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you could say that with Newcastle's first. They froze a bit on the occasion. Now, I guess the difference is, where there is the comparison, is the fact that Inter are a much better team than they were in 2023. Yeah. So I think you could definitely align on that.
But having that experience of losing and then going into it, again, I think there's a bit of destiny about both sides.
Well, I guess the thing is, they're at very different ends of the scale. So you have one of the youngest elite teams in Europe, in PSG, despite the fact that Luis Enrique has been developing them for a bit now. And Inter, where it feels as if this is their last chance, really, in this incarnation to do something. They've already talked about it. Beppe Marotta has talked about changing the team. He said not wholesale changes, but I think he does mean wholesale changes going into next year, because, some of those guys are pretty old now, not just a Cherby, Darmian. I think you look at Mkhitaryan.
36 years old. What a story it would be if he can lift that trophy.
Oh, it'd be if he could physically lift that trophy at his age. Yeah, maybe.
Just a bagging of another nail in the coffin that was Man United.
Is it
going
to
get Arsenal?
And Arsenal as well, yeah. Arsenal don't feel like they're dead, though, do they?
True.
Is it the thing now? We're
counting
people who leave United and win trophies. Danny Kelly used to do that for Spurs until last week. Basically. Yeah, players who would leave Spurs and win trophies. But I think it is interesting because they're at such different points. It feels as if Inter, I was saying on OTC yesterday, at the end of this 3-year cycle, like they nearly won it in 2023 when they weren't expected to. They felt they could win it in 2024 and they went out in the last 16 to Atletico, which never should have happened. And now they're in the final again, and they've got their kind of playing a little bit like Atletico for some of it, because we think of them as quite a defensive side. And if you look at the record, both in terms of actual goals conceded and like chances, they didn't concede any big chances really up until the quarterfinals. If you look at the XG, but then you get to the quarterfinals and the semi-finals, and it's like, right, okay, it's a cup competition. Let's get some rum in the punch bowl. And it's just been unbelievable, the last 4 games of Inter. But they've done that Atletico thing of, even when they're not defending perfectly, they're very, very good at like hanging on and then making the most of their good bits. So
Andy,
they don't have to be the better team to win this.
If we were going to do something on the Saturday night and you looked at me like that and said, let's get some rum in the punch bowl.
Yeah, and let's accentuate our good bits.
I'll be delighted. I'll be honest with you, it's not an exaggeration to say, it'll be the best time I've ever had with you.
Luke,
are you
I think I'd get involved as well.
Yeah, nice.
Are you turning it up from Five Guys to Wagamama for ordering in now?
Could do.
Right, okay.
I love a Wagamama.
I'm making punch now.
Yeah.
Takeaways out the window.
I'm having a wagon wheel. What, eh?
Andy,
I just heard you.
No, that's not allowed in my house.
Six for £1 in the co-op.
You're joking.
I've had Andy's alluded to it. He's not explicitly said it, but let me do so. Is it right, Andy? I think it is right that Inter have got the oldest team in the Champions League.
Yes.
And PSG have one of the youngest teams in the competition. So I can't remember who it is who's the actual youngest, but so it's a proper Mr. Miyagi versus Daniel LaRusso.
You could just say they've got the youngest team left in the competition.
Yeah, the youngest team left. I should have said that. So it's like when Mr. Miyagi didn't really fight Daniel LaRusso.
No, he didn't. He really
it's not
didn't.
A master versus apprentice type thing. I can't think of another analogy where a really old person fights a really young person.
Alan Pardew and Manuel Pellegrini.
There we go.
There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Inter are the fucking old and PSG are the slightly. It doesn't really work either. Pardew was also quite old.
I've just had it in my mind there.
Yeah,
The Pardew's going up to him on the touchdown thinking, I'm Luke Skywalker and you're Darth Vader, mate.
Better.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Better.
It is actually a refreshing final in a way, isn't it? Because obviously, I know Inter have been finalists recently, but such is the way of football now. Like, you don't really expect an Italian team to go all the way. Inter themselves were the last team to do it in 2010. And PSG are obviously, they are what they are, and the ownership is what it is, but they do also feel like a more palatable, sort of mature iteration of the project they've been trying to build. So it's quite a tantalising matchup in a lot of ways, and also, generally, it's not an Italian team or a French team getting this far, is it? So I know both have been finalists recently, but the last time a French team won it was 93. Last time an Italian team won it 2010. So it's different from the usual makeup.
And that Marseille side in 93. I'll just leave that
There's
there.
questions, Mark.
I'll just leave that there.
They never stripped them of it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Can I put a question to you guys about whether we think in recent years the Champions League finals have actually been that good?
Yeah,
Because I can't think of the last time. There was a really genuinely good one.
But do you feel
Liverpool Spurs? Do you not remember that one?
Terrible.
Do you feel hopeful for this one though? I feel quite.
I do.
hopeful
I
for
think there's
this one.
something about this game that Jim was tapping into there. There's a very
agreed.
different styles. Both teams, like I mentioned a minute ago, there's a sense of destiny about this for both sides. And again, Jim, what you said about PSG was spot on. We've all seen that. I mean, extraordinary. The first half or portion, if you like, of this competition to what came in the knockout
seasons
stages.
ago, doesn't it? Months ago.
Completely. Inter have been going about their business, and when they needed to, they went toe-to-toe with Barcelona and had a slugfest, and it was one of the greatest ties we've ever seen in the Champions League.
And also bearing in mind that they got past Bayern before that fairly comfortably as well. So they've really, really taken the hard route to this.
Yes.
So, I mean, we were talking about them a lot in terms of how impressively kind of defensively robust they've been up to that point. But I suppose, when you come up against Bayern and Barcelona, that's probably going to go out the window because of the nature of the Champions League. And PSG feel like a challenge in the same mould. So be very interesting to see if this is actually an entertaining final, because PSG are such a well-balanced team and they've got that youth and that exuberance and that directness as well. But it doesn't come with the naivety you would normally expect from a team like that. So I think obviously Inter are the sort of wiliest, canniest operators in the competition this season. So in terms of that matchup, it's going to be really fascinating to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and indeed. And obviously PSG's best performances have come all against Premier League sides as well. So this is a very different opponent.
But also their worst.
Well, indeed, because they can be got at in a sort of a way. Obviously, not they've won those games. So I know it sounds a bit silly saying that.
No, it doesn't sound silly at all, because the whole point is that the Champions League in the knockouts doesn't tend to be about total domination. It tends to be about 20-minute periods of momentum. And can you capitalise on that or not? So Villa almost did, and Arsenal flirted with doing it, didn't they? In the beginning of the game at the Parc des Princes.
If they had a striker around it, they might have done it
as well. Or if Donnarumma hadn't been in goal, who has undoubtedly been the best goalkeeper in the Champions League so far.
Statistically, if actually Jan Sommer, Andy.
Yeah. We're a Jan Sommer family here.
I was about to say
in this house, Jan Sommer is an American hero.
The question I have for you is: he built like RoboCop?
No, he's not.
End of.
No, he's not.
Not yet.
But Luke,
he's not been shot by loads of criminals.
Exactly. Does he need to be? But it's fascinating. We're talking about the teams, and you think, okay, well, if a chance does present itself, then you've got to get one past Sommer, who's been in imperious form, and Donnarumma, who is imperious with that kind of thing. I mean,
I think Nikki Baldini put it brilliantly yesterday on OTC. She said that Donnarumma has been the best goalkeeper in the competition. He's also, out of the two goalkeepers in the final, the one who's most likely to make a mistake that decides the game. Well, and I think that's fair.
Yeah. Luke, Come on, talk to me about. I love hearing you talk about Jan Sommer.
Just a fantastic goalkeeper, underrated apart from in this studio. I rate him
Since the
every single
semi-final.
time you ask me about it. But what's interesting is that the two goalkeepers could make a massive difference.
Well, indeed, I think
what I think's quite fascinating in the context of this conversation is if you look at, Inter 7, Barcelona 6 on aggregate in the semi-final, or Paris Saint-Germain 5, Aston Villa 4 in the quarter-final on aggregate, right? Mm-hmm. Loads of goals being scored, but we still find a way to talk about these goalkeepers all the time. And ordinarily, you'd probably be having a different conversation saying, well, can these teams keep clean sheets because the goals are being scored all over the place. Yet at the same time, we're still saying that these goalkeepers have put in really, really good performances. It could make a difference in the one-off game. I mean, you mentioned the Liverpool Spurs final from 2019.
Tongue in cheek, by the way. That was a dreadful final.
But to give that added context as well and give people a sense of what you meant, because not everyone will remember or care about it. What you don't want in a final is exactly what happened there, where there's like some kind of annoying penalty decision, which kind of kills the game from the very first few minutes, and then of course Liverpool kind of put a cherry on top and end up winning it 2-0, and it's not really an occasion. And what happens when that goes on in modern football is there's such an event made of Champions League finals these days. You have different performances from
Do you know who's playing?
Which pop star? It's Linkin Park this year, Andy, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
I think it's Linkin Park this year.
Right.
Doing a little pop concert, popular beat combo, doing a concert for the teenagers.
One of my favourite recent...
But let me just finish the point, because it's build up, and if something's over as a competition within 5 minutes of the final, it makes it look worse. Because you're not given the room to say, it's a football match, this stuff can happen. You're lent to believe this is a massive event, therefore we must be entertained. And if it doesn't happen, it makes the whole thing sound like shit. And on Monday, we've got to do a show reviewing it. So we hope that doesn't happen.
We hope it doesn't happen, yeah.
I think, though, the way you framed it, though, is it's all overwhelmingly positive up until the point where Mo Salah scores that penalty against Spurs. But actually, you've got Liverpool and Spurs fans united by booing Imagine Dragons. Just like last year. What I enjoyed so much being at the Champions League final at Wembley is the Dortmund fans relentlessly booing Lenny Kravitz.
Yeah, who still looks great, by the way.
He does, but he just has no place at the beginning of a Champions League final.
Who does then, Andy?
No one.
Yeah.
Well,
let the fans sing.
Andy.
Well, you say that, Marcus. I'm sorry to cut in, but you're saying let the fans sing. I didn't give you the full picture for tomorrow.
Let him do
that. Because German violinist David Garrett, doesn't sound very German, but apparently he is German, is going to play a rearranged version of the White Stripes Seven Nation Army.
Now you're talking.
On the trophy presentation prior to the team's entrance. So we've got a little bit of help for the fans there as well to give a bit of Seven Nation Army with the aid of a violinist.
That is very strange, because again, I do agree with the idea that the fans don't necessarily need help with that sort of thing. But I guess UEFA have been like, we've got to do something about these boos, haven't we?
Yeah.
Because it is almost like if the Super Bowl is the Super Bowl halftime show is something that's really, really well appreciated and it's an amazing gig to do, the Champions League show is almost like a sort of end of the pier working men's club on a Friday night. Like, it's really, really hard.
Some great
You're going to get booed even when you're Lenny Kravitz,
Don't have a go at George Formby. and some great acts.
I'm not having a go. He had to work really hard to succeed in those environments.
Yeah.
One of the things I think is very interesting about the mentality of this matchup as well is that PSG are on course for a treble, whereas Inter are on course to blow a treble, which is a very, very different kind of mentality to take into the game, isn't it?
Might I bring in a Jose Mourinho quote?
You might.
About this.
I imagine you will.
Well, Mourinho had his say on Inter recently saying, I'm going to be very naughty, but very honest. Which is, you're in for something good here. I was worried Inter could win the treble because I didn't want them to win the treble. The treble is mine. But now they have lost Serie A and the Italian Cup. I would love them to win the Champions League.
Yeah, I think
that's I think the most honest he's ever been.
I think all the stuff that Mourinho comes out with, that is at least honest.
If we're being really honest, we would say Jose Mourinho, speaking after his second place Fenerbahce team's loss to relegated Hatayspor. That would be a better framing of it.
Nerd.
Yeah, could be, Andy. Well, PSG, as you say, are on for a treble. They beat Reims, as it's pronounced. Yeah, I always thought it was
Rem. I thought.
Yeah. But, Andy, do you want to kind of weigh on
Reims?
Right,
yeah, that's how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
They beat them in the final, and so they're on for it. And I talk about the destiny of it. There's something about Inter. But But there's something about PSG when you look at that, a clean sweep, a side who are desperate to win this final, and as you say, Jim, with the ownership, one can't forget that.
They don't look desperate to win it though. That's the key difference with them now.
But every year they don't win it is funnier.
Indeed, yes. Well, indeed, Luke. But then you have Luis Enrique, of course, who's at the centre of all this for PSG. Would become only the second manager ever to win the treble twice. The first being
Barcelona.
Guardiola, yeah.
Pep Guardiola is the answer. Barcelona's not.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant the first time he won the treble, which is Barcelona in 2015.
Yeah,
Luis Enrique. Sorry, I missed that.
We were all on the same page.
Yeah,
and he could do it. And then, of course, there was that very emotional and poignant stuff he said about his daughter.
Well, he's had an incredible story. A really. I mean, for the adversity that he has come back from.
Yes.
Is remarkable, and you'd have to be hard-hearted to begrudge anything that he goes on to achieve after that.
Indeed. For those who don't know, of course, his daughter was 9 and died very sadly cancer. There was that photo of him on the pitch when they won the Champions League in 2015, and he said, I kind of, again, the stuff he said was very, very poignant, and he said, in a way, I want to kind of recreate that photo and so on. And as you say, Luke, you couldn't begrudge a man any success after that.
He's also listen, just if you stick to the football side of things as well, Andy would probably come on this and give a bit more detail if needed, but PSG have struggled to win this thing they're kind of judging themselves on. Yeah. And the reason they're doing it is because they've made loads of really odd decisions around individual players, Andy, right? Spending money in different areas, not doing things they should be doing that people would assume they should be doing to get a coherent team. And I think for Enrique to come in, presuming they do win tomorrow night, and unpick all that is a really tough thing to do, to change essentially a whole culture under that amount of pressure, because they've essentially, every single manager that comes in there, they've basically said to them, we need to win the Champions League. And for him to be able to not only potentially do that, but do it in a way where it unpicks all the mistakes that have been made in the past, essentially, is an amazing achievement.
Yeah, I mean,
he hasn't done it yet, but it would be an amazing achievement.
Obviously, he's had huge resources, but he had a lot of inherited problems based around that sort of star-led culture.
What did Biggie say? Mo money, mo problems. Isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Won't talk about who he collaborated with on that song.
Yeah, let's skip verse 2. But I think the interesting thing is that, I mean, we've said this before, is that everything that Kylian Mbappe said needed to change has changed.
Yeah.
The bit that he didn't add is that he was potentially part of the problem.
Well, be the change you want to see, so he left.
Yeah.
What we've
for example.
Fuck off. What we've worked out is that as well as being a European Golden Shoe winner, he's going to be an excellent director of football in the future.
There we go.
It is one of those finals where you can get excited about it by just naming players from the teams. Barella, Kvaratskhelia, Doué, Dembele, etc. I'm just I can't wait for this.
It's brilliant. I know what you mean.
That was cinematic, Jim.
It's just it's a neutral's delight, isn't it?
It's a rare thing for a French side and Italian side as well to meet. Well, it's a rare thing for a French side to get to the final, as already said. So
the conditions under which French teams win the Champions League, the only condition under which a French male team wins the Champions League.
Are we excited for Linkin Park or not? Because you guys haven't really answered me when I asked that earlier.
Well, I haven't seen or heard them.
Is Jay-Z turning up?
God, that would be good.
Seems unlikely.
It does.
Yeah, but then you never know, from the floor up the trapdoor.
That would be lovely. Because the UEFA website says, to mark the occasion, Linkin Park have composed and recorded a new remix blending their iconic riffs with the sights and sounds of the UEFA Champions League, which will debut on what should be an unforgettable night.
Is there a trapdoor, though? Because I'm thinking,
send them down? Yeah, that would be lovely. Jose on guitar?
No, just popping up during the game to mess up an inter chance.
I don't think there's a trapdoor on the pitch, Jim. No. I think I can confidently say that's not going to be the case.
I'm just thinking what riff would go with Leipzig's record-breaking 7 group stage defeats.
What's it got to do with Leipzig?
Well, it says blending iconic riffs with the sights and sounds of the Champions League.
What are you going to do to mark Brest losing 10-0 in aggregate to PSG? 7-0 reversal in the second leg?
I have no idea. Coming up after this, more reaction to Chelsea's Conference League win.
Moisey, how was your reception?
Moisey? Yeah, fucking hell, don't think we're that close.
You I mean, it is poor that a journalist doing his job is saying that.
Yeah. Moisey, got a question for you.
Yeah.
And Moisey was right to pick him up on that.
Oh, he was, yeah.
Was he right to laugh for that long?
I'm not sure.
Well, if it tickled him, Andy.
It was an improvement on saying he was going to slap someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which he also did.
It's a plus.
Yeah, so maybe he's improving.
We live and learn.
Yeah.
Chelsea won the Europa Conference League this week. Of course, Pete and Andy did a very fine Ramble Reacts straight after the full-time whistle. And, of course, much was made about Chelsea beating a Spanish side in a European final.
First time since 2001.
How about that? Again, Atletico Madrid have lost finals, but it was to another Spanish side. That's your little asterisk, okay?
Yeah.
See, the Conference League breaking down barriers left and right for the good of football.
Andy, would you say this was more or less romantic than West Ham's Europa Conference League win? Which you didn't think was romantic at all, of course.
And you were fuming.
I didn't say it wasn't romantic at all. It was nice for West Ham because West Ham have not got a history of
I
European trophies.
think what Andy was saying at the time was perfectly fair.
It was.
But you've taken it and run with it and remind him of it every single
Unlike
time.
him though, to be fair.
I mean,
So-
it's true. It's not like I've copied you in any way.
Well, I was
with that
about to
kind
say,
of
if you are going to get stuck into Brassel, what you want to do is be less dog whistly about it and more kind of just give him a load of shit.
Right. Well, it's different
Different
approaches.
Andy, I thought your take on West Ham was fucking dreadful. Hey, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just easier.
We're from different places.
We are, exactly.
But Andy, yes. So, yeah, know what you mean. But you were right to say this, and actually, it really kind of, made me see the Premier League sides in the Europa Conference League in the correct light, because when West Ham won it, you said, yeah, it is a great win, and as you say, happy for them in the parade and all the rest of it for a side who are not used to winning trophies at all, really. But look at the budgets they have and so on and so forth compared to the others. Chelsea's the nth degree, really, to that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems unlikely that a better financed team than Chelsea will be in the Conference League in the near future.
Yes, because it'll be Nottingham Forest next season, of course.
Who again should be the favourites, really, if you look at it straight away. Look, I think.
So I was desperate for Fulham to qualify for it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think you can divide the two things. It's still worth winning for Chelsea and exciting for those young players. It's not to diminish their joy, but at the same time, I think we've all known, again, it's the most like almost caricatured version of English domination of a competition like this.
Yeah.
They should have won it from the very beginning. I think, as I said to Pete the other night, what was the good thing though is they came up against a worthy opponent in the final.
Yeah.
And something you said on our WhatsApp group, that you said, this is so much better than the Europa League final.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Like, night and day, it's a different sport,
because
basically.
you had a situation in the first half particularly where it genuinely looked like the player, because obviously Chelsea have picked quite a different team for this competition throughout the season compared to what they do in their bread and butter. It felt like those players in the first half, particularly say Malo Gusto, who got subbed off at half time, and one or two others, it felt a bit like they were struggling to deal with the step up in class of opponent. And sometimes, I know I use this analogy a lot, but I think I might have even used it in the preview to this game. It kind of reminds me a bit of boxing when you've got a really kind of exciting prospect who's stepping up in class. And it doesn't mean they're not good enough to beat them. It just means it takes them 4, 5, 6 rounds to work them out.
Yes.
So actually their defence is quite good, or their footworks are much better than I was expecting or that I've faced before. And it almost becomes a puzzle you have to work out. And I felt like obviously Chelsea gilded the lily by scoring, Sancho and Caicedo scored late on, but it took them a while to work it out, and they were able to work it out, and at least it represented something of a challenge, because I think if you look at the manner of the way they scored goals against Djurgården in the semi-final, I mean, it was kind of laughable, really. I mean, the level of defensive acumen on display from Djurgården, I know they're at a different point in their season and maybe not warmed up properly at that stage.
Oh, come on.
It was poor.
I mean,
we're
we're just talking about a massive gap in class and resource. Right. You're right. But I think that was one of the reasons, actually, conversely, on the other side of the draw, why Betis deserved to be here. Because if there was a moment that was going to make you feel excited about this competition, the whole way through the competition, you've been looking at it like, who is actually going to give Chelsea a challenge at some point? And the draw meant that didn't really happen for a very long time. And then you got that semi-final between Fiorentina and Betis. You have two good teams, both challenging for Champions League football this season, even though neither of them quite made it in the end. And they both went for it till the very end. And you look at the end of that final, at the end of extra time in Florence, at the end of the semi-final, and Fiorentina were in bits because they hadn't got through, and Betis were celebrating like they'd achieved something amazing, and they had, and the way they were greeted back when they arrived in Seville, and they have added so much to this competition, and they kind of brought that forward to the final. Okay, like physically they didn't have enough to see it all the way through the final, but I think that's all you can ask for a final.
I would also add, you can also look at it in the profile of the players in the opposition. So if you look at this from a Chelsea point of view and you look at who Betis have got, they've got more than a handful of players who've played at the very top level.
Absolutely.
Adrian, Marc Bartra, Ricardo Rodriguez, Anthony, Isco, Pablo Fornals.
Yeah.
You know, these are all on their day top quality players.
I mean, like you said, Isco has been there and done it in European finals. And he ran the show until he couldn't run anymore.
How many champions? He must have won 5 Champions Leagues.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
What a legend.
But no Europa Conference Leagues, though.
It's
They'll be fuming.
Interesting kind of dynamic, isn't it? Because we've been saying all season Chelsea have to win this because it'll be ridiculous if they don't.
Well, we just knew. I mean, it was the easiest prediction I think anyone's ever made.
Absolutely, but at the same time, you know, them actually winning it puts a huge kind of positive tick at the end of this season for what is a really, really young team, actually, which I know has been mentioned a lot recently, but I feel like it's not been mentioned a lot through the season, how sort of young Chelsea's average age is. So that's a real bonding experience for those players. And I'm sure the makeup of the squad will be quite different next season because of the way they churn. But I think it's a real kind of waypoint in them essentially getting back to a little bit of stability and being a sort of recognisable team with a strong core that looks like it's probably going to challenge again sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think that's it. You can separate the two things, like you say, Jim. The fact that they are, it's a bit like PSG we were talking about in the Champions League final. You know, we can know the financial model, and at the same time we can look at it and say it's a young team that is still developing. You know, those two things can be true at the same time, can't
I've got to regret that they're not doing so you've got, first of all, what annoys me is that they're not playing the finals, the European finals, in order. They should be going Conference League, then Europa League, then Champions League.
Yep.
Yes.
Sometimes it happens in the playoffs as well, which is frustrating.
It all feels a bit busked, doesn't it?
It does, but then they also should be doing quality of musician providing the entertainment. It goes down in quality depending on. So you should be having, for the Champions League final, you should be, you know, right up there. You're looking at probably
Oasis, Europa Conference League,
Bob Dylan or the Stones. Then the Europa League should probably be someone on the second kind of rung down. Then the Conference League, you're probably looking at
Shed 7?
Linkin Park. Shed 7 are more a League One playoff final.
Hard Fi.
Hard Fi. Now you're talking conference playoff.
I prefer Shed 7 to Hard Fi.
Yeah, but then I would.
You're a good man, Speller.
Wouldn't I?
That is the correct position to take.
Indeed.
But I hear what you're saying.
So, I mean, the only regrets Chelsea will have is they didn't have some kind of entertainment before the game, or a violinist doing Seven Nation Army for them.
We had a bit of entertainment after the game with Cole Palmer.
Great stuff. Return to form on the pitch,
yes,
in a big game, and return to personality off the pitch.
What do you think of those interviews? Do you because
they're doing it on purpose, Marcus?
No, clearly. But that's so. What I was going to say is, what do you think? Do you think it is quite funny and enjoyable, or do you think, come on, you miserable sod, say something a bit more?
I think he's been genuinely authentic.
Yeah, so do I.
So you can't argue with it.
He's a man who can't help being himself. There's a bit of the Liam Gallagher about it.
Yeah,
it's just constantly
bad haircut as well.
Mode.
yeah. Because Palmer is always just totally himself, and there's nothing affected about him. He's like the anti-James Madison, I would say. And you know, there's a brilliant bit where someone says, "Oh, why have you got your player of your match trophy shoved in your shorts?" He's, "Well, I haven't got any pockets." It's a very practical answer.
Yes,
he's got a free hand.
He has.
It did feel like a tribute to Marcus's trophy lift at the FSAs.
Did a bit,
to me.
Which itself was a tribute to Emiliano Martinez.
You say trophy lift; it was more of a trophy thrust.
Good to know that Palmer's a Ramble listener, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's very good.
Yeah,
it's definitely me and not Emi Martinez. He was him.
Definitely, definitely.
Ah, dearie me.
No other footballer would lower themselves to that, surely.
No. Staying with Chelsea. well, I don't give a damn about all accounts. By David Ornstein's account,
he's Orny, the Ornicle himself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's the Orn mower man. But
that's great.
Thanks.
You're saying you've learned from Ornhub that.
Go on, Bennett, Jim.
He's Craig David on to do it.
There we go. we love him and we love his output. And if he's saying it's happening, it's happening.
Do you know I showed off last week saying he's a friend of mine and I trust him more than I trust Romano?
Did you?
I texted him asking for a bit of intel.
I thought you said he messaged you saying acquaintance at best.
It's worse than that.
Okay.
I texted him asking for a bit of intel ahead of this show. He hasn't replied.
Who's this?
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's his new phone?
Yeah.
Has he blue ticked you? Or has he turned that
I'll
off?
check.
I imagine he'll have turned
I don't
that
think
off.
he's got blue ticks on. No, I'll check. You carry on, Marcus. I'll check.
Well, look,
he's not blue ticked me. He's not responded.
Well, Liam Delap going to Chelsea. They have activated his release clause, which I mean, 30 million. They could have slapped another 10 million on at least.
Easily.
At least.
Man United would have paid 45.
Yeah, they absolutely
for no reason.
Are you not so? I am so glad he's not going to Manchester United.
Yes.
Because he's a young player with a lot of promise. I didn't want that dashed.
Also, a lot of the coverage around the fact that, because obviously Ornstein is reporting that Delap and his people have told all these other clubs, Newcastle, Milan, United, whoever it is, that he wants to go to Chelsea.
Yeah.
And a lot of the coverage I've seen has been focused around the fact that United have been throwing the kitchen sink at trying to get Delap, and he's their main target, and they've failed.
If you're going to throw things at me, I'm not going to.
Yeah. And so I don't know where that leaves them either.
Well, Mateus Cunha is the one that...
But that's different, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cunha's not going to play up front.
Cunha doesn't know that.
No, but if you
just chuck him in
The
there.
plan was to pair them, wasn't it?
Yeah,
clearly?
totally, and that'll work
Are
brilliantly.
you suggesting there was a plan?
No, I'm not suggesting.
Right, okay. I think that's...
described the plan to them, which is very generous of you, Jim. I think they deserve it.
When you say that, Jim, I think they're going to go, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're going to play Delap as a wing-back.
Yeah.
He's certainly got legs. But going to Chelsea, Andy, though, I think that's... I get that. I do.
I get it, but there's two ways of looking at it. I think on one hand, it could work really well. They're creator of a lot of chances. He's a finisher of chances with limited opportunity, we have to say, on the whole. The other side of it is there's a little nagging doubt that says if Chelsea are going to get to that next level, and we've been talking, Jim, about them developing, why not go and buy an Aussie man? They seem completely averse to buying experienced players.
Because I think it's too much wages, isn't it?
Yeah.
Too many wages for Osimhen.
Yeah, but fine. But he won't be commanding the same wages as he was last year, and he'll be commanding a far lower transfer fee.
Some of your journalist colleagues, though, Andy, are saying that Osimhen's pricing himself out of so many deals.
I mean, when you say he's not going to demand the wages, going to Chelsea, I think Osimhen's going to demand a huge package, isn't he?
He would.
Come on, like he would.
Spent £1 billion and everyone knows it, right?
Yeah, the transfer fee, I understand. I think though,
but the thing is, they don't have to sign him to an 8-year contract.
No, true.
I mean,
they don't have to.
The fact is, on the whole, they seem averse to buying the experienced players, which will help them develop the great young players that they have. Well, it's almost like a much more expensive version of the Leipzig model. This is what Pete and I were talking about the other night, actually.
I would say I disagree with that, Andy, because I think Nicholas Jackson is a player who I think is probably slightly underrated by the kind of wider kind of football watching community.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
He's a little bit raw, but
we're not a community. We are not a community,
sure.
Jim.
But he's
more of a gaggle.
He's raw. All right, the wider gaggle. He's raw, but there's clearly some talent there, and his numbers are pretty decent already.
He's fucking raw.
If you bring in someone like Osimhen, that kind of sidelines him, and you lose all that development.
That's a fair point.
Delap is a player who will come in and compete directly with him, who also I think has a really, really high ceiling. I think this is an incredible signing. I think that gives them a really good balance in that position.
But I think there are two ways of looking at it. I think Jackson is unfinished enough that I think they would be better served getting an experienced striker to teach him. Because really, I think Jackson should be their starting forward going forward.
Right.
He's good enough. I think he's got enough in the locker to be that player at some point.
Delap has come from an environment now where he's basically like Dennis Waterman, right? He writes the theme tune, he sings the theme tune, he acts in the show. He has to make a lot of his own shit going on, right?
Yeah.
People were talking about, how he's had a breakthrough season, which of course he has. He's had to do quite a lot of that himself, and I think that might be amazing training for him.
Is Todd Bowley Pete Waterman in this?
I see where you're going with that.
Waterman's.
Yeah, I think possibly Marcus. Yeah.
He's Arthur Daly, I think.
Yeah.
But I think Delap though. I I get the point Jim said. I think he has a higher ceiling than Jackson, though, even though they're similar in age. And I mean, he did well this season, all things considered. With a team who were relegated very early on, and feeding off the scraps, with Cole Palmer teeing him up.
And with those wide players as well.
With the wide players as well. He just has so much in his locker, Delap. He was described as a throwback, but also a modern forward. Yeah. He can do it all.
Yeah, I mean, if they're looking for that, there's a lot to recommend him. Mm-hmm. I mean, in terms of him being that fixed point number 9 that they've been needing for a while, he is that. I think at the price, you've got to go for it.
It's a no-brainer.
I think you do. Yeah. So when I say I get it, him going to Chelsea, I get it from his point of view that you're going to massively increase your wages. You're playing for a big side that are going for trophies, and you're not, crucially, Jim, going to Manchester United.
Sure, yeah, but he also knows Maresca from his time in the City Academy, which is apparently
that's
big part of it.
That's big. Because you're right. Because I was wondering, okay, with Maresca's style of football, with Delap, and then when I was reminded of that, you thought, oh, okay, there's a link. I mean, I think a lot of people were after him. He had the pick of a lot of teams, as Luke mentioned there. Well, let's move on from Chelsea. And by the way, Chris Wood. We were talking about. Golden Head,
yeah.
The Golden Head.
Golden Bonds.
Chris Wood is officially the winner of the Golden Head, by the way. He scored 8-headed goals this season, which is the most in the top 5 leagues in Europe.
And we should make it clear that the Golden Head, aka the Golden Bonds, is an award that we've made up. It's not an official award
yet.
But Chris Wood has won it. We tweeted about it. A few people saying in the comments that Oliver Hall saying we 100% need to see Peter Crouch hand out this Golden Head statue at an event.
There's a number of... I mean, you could get them all there. Duncan Ferguson, Andy Carroll.
He should wear a little tray on his head.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Have the trophy in
Deliver it with his head.
Like Pete's once famous infant chip bowl helmet.
Yeah, that'd be... I'd like it to be an infant chip bowl helmet, but just in gold.
Yeah.
And that's the Golden Head Award.
Well done, Chris Wood. Right, coming up after this, Manchester United's woes continue. Well, that's right, Manchester United fans. You can't catch a break. Lost 1-0 to ASEAN All-Stars, who are a scratch team of Southeast Asian internationals. This was their first game of their post-season trip to the Far East. Of course, they were whisked away after that disappointing loss. Well, not immediately after the Europa League final. It was a small matter of Aston Villa, but a very disappointing season. Off they go to the Far East, and they lose 1-0. Mwang Lewen scored the goal. The Myanmar captain who plays for Thai side Lamphun Warriors.
Lovely finish, tidy finish, nice assist as well.
It was.
But it was almost as if the Man United players weren't quite on their game.
Did you feel didn't understand why they were there?
Yeah.
Probably thought it was a dream.
It's a proper Sisyphean encounter. Just when you thought the season was going to end, you could stop playing football. You're doing more of it.
What's that rolling our way again? It's more football. It's a huge football that we simply cannot control.
I did enjoy Amorim saying we've got to have that winning mentality, even if it's a kickabout in the street. Mm-hmm. We've got to try and win it. And it's like, really, you kind of insulted the sponsors and the hosts and your own team with one half sentence.
And
that's
it's not
very
even
impressive.
The worst thing he said, is it? He said, we don't have it in us not to choke in every exercise, in every game. That is what happens.
Bloody hell.
I mean, it's getting to the point where he's just talking himself into a payoff.
Do you know what I think the worst thing he did, and that's bad, right? But the worst thing I saw that he did following this game is he did a post-match press conference with Amad Diallo.
This was good.
And Amad Diallo was asked about the future of Alejandro Garnacho, and the camera pulls out, and behind the mic, Ruben Amorim is just laughing.
Well, he's laughing at the point where they ask Amad, "Do you think there's any chance of him changing minds and maybe staying and having a future at Old Trafford?" And that's the point that Amorim starts laughing.
It's wild.
So just torpedoing your own bargaining position, essentially.
Yeah.
Which is what they've been doing with the attitude to Garnacho, I suppose, in the things that have been said. I know Garnacho himself has played a part in that, and it's perhaps untenable. Maybe that's a little bit unfair. But I think what's very interesting about this situation is the boos at full time, because,
they did cheer after, though. They did when the trophy. There was some kind of presentation. They cheered then.
But generally, though, Man United fans have been amazing, and I think that's worth pointing out. They take a lot of stick everywhere and on this show as well, but they've been really supportive of their team in the hardest season in the club's modern history. That deserves a lot of credit. Not like that in Malaysia, though, is it? Clearly, where they've sort of had their say, and I suppose it's a reminder that fans in far-flung places are very invested and they do care. And I suppose this is an opportunity for those fans to vocalise how they feel.
Well, I mean, Marcus, you said, their team won it. Like, clearly the idea is that the majority of people there are there to see Man United. And I think the genesis perhaps of the response might be that this is the only chance we ever get to watch Man United, realistically. And we get it in a situation which is already suboptimal because they've been on the end of a long season. And even if they did want to be here, they are not capable of performing. Like, I can't remember which journalist it was, might have been Adam Crafton, said, at least those fans can't deny that Man United gave them an authentic experience of what it is to support Man United these days, right? So there's that. But there was also something about it which just had everything about it was under a cloud of just depression. Like, look at the bus parade they did. Yeah. I mean, and it is funny. Objectively, it's funny to see them just driving down an obscure highway in the Far East on a bus, and then there's no one there to watch them.
4 players on it.
But what I find baffling about this, and we're going to come on to the Bruno Fernandes things about just broken as well, and this Garnacho sticking his middle finger up as he's leaving the pitch, and this thing with Diallo, like. All these things exist in isolation. When you put them together, it's like, who's advising that?
Yeah.
Like, if anyone worth their salt, any organisation, whether it's a band, a football team, a CEO of a company, being asked to do an event and saying, by the way, we've got pretty good intel that no one's going to turn up. Why are you doing it? Just can it.
Yeah.
Cancel it.
It's the kind optics of spinal tap at this point.
Yeah.
The brand is being damaged.
Totally.
Right? And it's all they've got left at the moment. It's still a huge brand. They're still worth an enormous amount of money, and that's what's kept them through this ridiculous period. But it is getting to the point where even that is starting to show cracks in it.
I genuinely feel sorry for so many.
Oh, yes.
They're being let.
It's impossible not to.
The players have not showered themselves in glory. There's a couple of exceptions to that, but generally speaking, the players haven't performed. We know that. But actually, they're being let down by the leadership of that club. I mean, they're employees of the club and they deserve to be led properly.
Yeah.
And all this stuff off pitch or post-season tour, whatever, that's dealt with by certain, groups of people at the club, and they basically follow along. The Garnacho thing, giving the middle finger as someone was filming the team as he walked off the pitch, you could be a bit pearl clutchy about that, but I'm inclined to think, well, one, he's being told he's got a future at the club. 2, I think the fact that he's even been put on this post-season tour looks to me a bit like a punishment, right? So we don't expect him to be very happy about it. 3, he's a young man under amazing pressure. But he's just done whatever it is, however many minutes he's played in quite hot, humid temperatures at the end of a long season where it's been very mentally draining for him anyway. I'm surprised he didn't do anything worse than that, because I probably would have.
Well, what do you think of this then? As we're in the studio, we've just heard that the BBC are reporting that Bruno Fernandes is giving serious consideration to quitting Manchester United next week and joining Al Hilal in the Saudi Pro League. Representatives for Fernandes have reportedly met with Al Hilal officials in the last few days. The move might go through in time for him to take part in the Club World Cup. A chance for silverware, Andy. Chance to link up with a proper striker as well, who's going to put away the chances he puts on a plate for them in Alexander Mitrovic. Transfer fee rumoured to be around £80 million. I
mean, this would be... I think this would be heartbreaking if you're a United fan, he's been such a beacon of hope. But this is where they are at the moment, I suppose, because they're in this situation where at the moment they just haven't got any money to do anything. That's the problem. And all the players who the club have briefed that they want to sell are basically unsellable. So really, they're stuck. They've got to generate cash somewhere else. I think they massively overplayed their hand when they were negotiating with Napoli for Garnacho back in January, and I think they should have snapped Napoli's hand off at just north of 50 million they got offered.
That seems crazy.
Isn't this sort of, though, like if you sell Fernandes for the fee reported is 80 million, which would be very difficult to turn down, isn't it sort of raising money to improve your house by selling the roof?
Yeah. But I think it might. I guess
he's such an important part of that team.
He's
the only part of that team that anyone would really want, I suppose. I guess that
disrespectful to Harry again.
The point is that if they are going to make at least some sort of move to develop, they're in a situation where they're massively reliant on Bruno Fernandes, and they have been for a long time, and it's got worse and worse and worse. Where's the route to improvement?
There was apparently a signing session on this tour where Bruno Fernandes was like the person actually trying to G up the rest of the squad to kind of take it seriously and look engaged. It's like he has to do everything around there. It is nuts. I mean, I think it would be a real shame if he goes to Saudi at this stage in his career. I think he would improve most kind of teams, even top teams. Like, he's probably not going to go to a PSG or a Real Madrid or something like that. But he could get a move to a Juventus or a Milan, a team like that, surely, easily.
But it's money, though, isn't it? It's just the wages. Like I think he's. What happens
this is the best it's going to get.
It happens time and time again with the modern player. They get a lucrative move to the Premier League, and it's not even necessarily even a massive Premier League team, and it makes it hard to find landing spots elsewhere for them because they're required to take a massive pay cut. Obviously, for his point of view, he's probably going to double his wages going to Saudi.
Well, there's also the transfer fee. I mean, a lot of clubs can't afford that kind of transfer fee.
Yeah,
and at the age of what is he? 30 now?
He's 30. Yeah, I mean I think that's the saddest thing about it. Like, if he goes, he's not coming back.
No. That you would have thought. Maybe a Portuguese side if his contract runs out and he takes a wage cut or whatever. But you're right, Andy, and I think for such a great play, it would be a great shame. But look, we're going to be talking about Manchester United more on the mailbag tomorrow. But I want to finish. Good news. I want to finish on a little bit of a positive with Manchester United. It's very, very difficult to do so. But Tom Heaton is set to sign a 1-year contract extension. So something we can all get behind.
Time for this.
Dean Smith also says you're an encyclopedia of football.
A what?
An encyclopedia of football.
I don't know what that means.
Yes, it's that time on a Friday. Jack's Encyclopedia time. Luke, of course, took back the Jack's Encyclopedia belts ahead of Tuesday's title
Luke
decider.
Nation, rise up. Rise up. Luke Nation, everywhere. Yeah. We're everywhere, mate.
No one likes people who bring their own music.
It's like a tech offensive. We just rise. On a national holiday.
It's a simple game of categories. You know what it is. If you go too slow, I'll play Gary Neville's Goalgasm, which will leave you 7 seconds.
Is my title on the line here today?
The lineal belts.
The lineal belts.
Of course they are.
Because we've got a big thing. We've got the end of season thing next week.
Did you not bring them? Did you leave them at home?
Are they on the line?
I've got. I want
to keep them for a bit more.
I've got last season long trophy still on my desk in the other office.
Really?
So I'll bring that in next week to defend it.
Please do, Luke.
Yeah, I will.
Ready to hand it over.
Well,
all right. I'll put the belts. You know me. The Luke Nation love me because it's anytime, anywhere.
Andy, can you start?
Because I will go on forever. I'll never stop.
Yes, you will. Category 1. Nice.
Who's going first?
Jim is going first because he's to my left. Obviously, it's going to be Champions League based this week as we're on the cusp of the final. So, Jim, can you start us off? We are going for every player that featured in the 2010 Champions League final for Jose Mourinho's Inter.
Every player that featured or started?
Every player that featured.
And just Mourinho's Inter, not the opposition?
Just Mourinho's Inter.
Okay, so I'll go for Samuel Eto'o.
I'll have Julio Cesar.
Great to get the keeper in there.
Yep.
Mispronunciation, but...
how should I have said it?
Julio.
Right.
Yeah, I think we understood what you meant.
Be harsh to dog me for that.
I've got to go for the Matrix, Marco Materazzi.
Nice. I will go for Javier Zanetti.
Nice one.
I'll go for Wesley Sneijder.
Also nice.
I'll go for Lucio.
Nicely done.
Oh, excellent.
I'll go for Walter Samuel.
That's correct. Sure.
I have Diego Milito.
Oh, that was my last one, Marcus.
Nice
that was my last one.
Materazzi came on a sub for him.
I think I've got... This is a guess. Maicon?
Ooh.
Yes.
Christian Chivu?
Well played.
Another mispronunciation, Andy. Pull him up on that. Kivu.
Christian Chivu?
I will have... what's his name?
Can't do that.
I mean, the name is the key here.
Yeah.
It is the key, isn't it?
We're down to the last couple.
We've got 9 players already. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Darko Panchev?
Darko Panchev?
No, not Darko Panchev. Yeah, I've buggered that. I meant the other guy, which Jim's going to get.
I'm next.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I can't believe I've...
I don't know.
You know who I'm thinking as well, don't you?
I know who.
And I've completely bollocksed it.
Dejan Stankovic.
Pretty good. That's him. Esteban Cambiasso?
Yeah. Well,
Did you mean Stankovic?
no,
Okay.
you haven't said him.
Oh, who did you say then, Jim?
I said
Esteban
Cambiasso.
Bloody hell,
There's
good one.
2 to go, and the mystery man is one of them.
There's only 2
I
left.
can't believe I've bollocksed that because
Yeah, I thought you meant Stankovic.
No.
It's on the tip of my tongue, and I can't think who it is.
It's Torres to give Chelsea a place in the Champions League final. The headline has been written.
Jim's point.
Come on, put me out of misery.
Goran Pandev.
Pandev.
Was Cordoba in there?
No, the other one you could have had was Sully Montari, Portsmouth legend.
Oh, Montari. I forgot
come
about him.
on.
I was pretty sanguine about Jim getting the point there. The 2 words Sully Montari have sickened me.
Yeah.
Sullied you.
1-0 to
Sullied me.
Jim. Jim, actually, the
Goran Pandev.
the unused
Yeah.
subs, so you couldn't have had these, obviously. Francesco Toldo, Ivan Cordoba, who you mentioned before, McDonald Mariga, and Mario Balotelli.
So, all right.
So
We did well there.
1-0 to Jimbo.
Should've got Montari.
Next
Fuck
one
it. Good
is going to be
start, good
started off by Marcus Speller.
Hello.
PSG's top 10 goal scorers in the history of the Champions League, please.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Good guess. He's in there. Well, I thought you were going to press it.
No, he's obviously in there.
It would have destroyed my confidence if that wasn't right. I'll go Kylian Mbappe, surely.
I'll go for Cavani.
Excellent.
Neymar. Come on.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, don't be like that, Andy.
How are we doing?
It's not an easy one, this.
It's
No.
not.
Couple of obvious ones, couple of weird ones.
It's Torres to give Chelsea a place in
George Weah.
Nice.
Oh my God!
Nice.
Usman Dembele?
Surely. Yeah.
All scored this year, probably.
Yeah.
Now I'm out.
Would you have gone for Georgie Weah?
Those were my only 2.
It's a really good one.
Couple of biggies.
It's Torres to
You go.
give Chelsea a place in the Champions League final.
Lionel Messi.
The headline.
I just didn't think he'd been there long enough. But I thought if I
Well
don't
done.
say him and that's the right answer, then I'm off.
That's brilliant, man.
I'm
amazing.
I'm
Yeah, it's
walking
really
out.
good.
Well done.
This is difficult now.
It's me. It's me.
Oh,
mate.
right.
It's
okay.
Luke.
I was just putting pressure on.
You're right. It is difficult.
So you got 3 to go.
Only 3.
Only 3.
Bloody hell.
You've
this
done
is
very
tough
well
this
so
week.
far,
It's
fellas.
tough this week. Really tough.
It's Torres to give Chelsea a place in the Champions League final. The headline.
Marco Verratti.
I'd be surprised if he was.
yeah.
He done me. He
never
done me the other week with a
2. I'm not sure on either of them.
2 more than me, mate.
Ezekiel Lavezzi?
Oh, that's
Jim
excellent.
Campbell.
Jim wins.
No, I'm
No.
Got in.
Marcus, you need you to do this.
I know, mate. I know. Although the thought of you not having the belt. Right,
2
come on.
to go.
right,
Come on,
small
Spells.
club.
There's one that I really can't believe that neither of you have got.
Give him a lot of room here.
Yeah.
Give him a lot of room.
To give Chelsea a place in the Champions League final.
David Ginola.
Has been written.
Yeah, not confident with that one.
Jim's got to get one.
Ronaldinho?
I'm back
Both
in.
back in. 2 to go.
I'll tell you what, if neither of you get it this time,
Yeah.
no one gets the point and we go to the third
We do.
one. So I'm back in. Just throw it. Just throw it. Marcus, just throw it in.
Patrice Loco.
Nice mention.
He played for them, didn't he?
Yeah.
He did, but it wasn't him.
Jim.
Oh, dear. Blaise Matuidi?
If he's in there.
We're all
I
back
was
in.
kicking off.
Yes.
Right,
Okay,
so
I need to know this obvious one was.
The 2 you didn't get Angel Di Maria. And the other, Marquinhos. Because he's just been there a really long time.
fucking
I would have never guessed
Scores,
Marquinhos.
scores off a corner, doesn't he? So it's
Your Verratti guess I would
Yeah.
have gone for that before.
there we go. It's still 1-0 to Jim as we go into the final round.
Back in. I can't believe back from the dead. The Luke Nation can't believe their luck. Come on.
Now here we go. I expect good things, fellas, from this one. There are 26 possible answers. Every Golden Boot winner in the Premier League era.
Wow. And I'm first.
Luke, take us out the gate.
Wow. Mo Salah.
Why not, eh?
Harry Kane.
Thierry Henry.
Alan Shearer.
You suddenly start doubting yourself. It's awful.
Jamie Vardy.
Yeah.
Sorry,
nice.
what was that?
Jamie Vardy.
Nice.
Very good.
Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang.
Oh, very nice. I would never have guessed that.
Jim would have.
Yeah.
Kevin Phillips.
Yeah.
Robin van Persie.
Good one. I had that written down.
Very good one. Hyun-Min Son.
Very good.
Andy Cole.
Ooh, very nice. Dwight York.
Ruud van Nistelrooy.
Very good.
Forgot York. You see, these are the players. That's exactly the type of player where you go, oh, he always scored a lot of goals but never actually did it.
Luke, what you got?
Nothing.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? If your head's full of these players.
Yeah. Blimey.
There's some big ones on here, you know.
Of course. Wayne Rooney.
Surely Wazza did it. Oh, maybe not.
Oh, wow, really?
See what I mean? That's what I mean. There's loads of those players. Jim.
Erling Haaland.
Of course.
Shit.
Very good.
Sergio Aguero.
Motherfucker.
Cheers, old boy.
I'm out.
Indeed.
Didier Drogba. I think he might have done it one
very good.
season.
Michael Owen.
Yeah, because Drogba didn't actually score that many goals,
Yeah.
did he?
No. He had one season, though, clearly, where he absolutely roofed it. Okay.
Still quite a few to go, Jim.
Golden boot.
It's Torres.
It's the old
Golden
Luis
boot
Suarez.
save.
Suarez, surely.
Very good.
Dion Dublin.
Oh, very
Good one.
good.
Ooh, yes.
Very, very good.
Dirty, that one.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can remember what one's been said and what haven't without writing it down.
JZ, mate.
Yeah.
I'm struggling now.
Fernando Torres.
To give Chelsea.
Oh.
I think that shared with Michael Owen and Dion Dublin, Chris Sutton.
Oh, very
Oh,
Is that right?
Speller's
Very
point.
good.
1-1.
Very
Yeah.
good. 1-1.
Wait, there was a few
so
we missed.
the ones you were missing: Carlos Tevez, Cristiano Ronaldo,
Oh, my God, of course.
You guys missed that.
Dimitar Berbatov,
The Berbatov was one I had.
Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, Nicola Anelka,
Nelks.
Sadio Mane,
Yeah, yeah.
and Teddy Sheringham.
Sheringham
in
was,
the
I wasn't
first
sure.
year of the Premier League.
The one I kept wanting to say, and I thought, no, I don't think it was Robbie Fowler.
Yeah.
You.
Okay, so we've got a tiebreaker, 1-1
There'll be a new champion.
between Speller and Campbell. Every permanent West Ham manager since
bloody Nora.
1992. Every
bloody
permanent
Nora.
West Ham manager since 1992.
Awful.
Jimbo to
An
start.
awful question.
Well, I'll go with Graham Potter.
I'm actually pleased I'm not involved.
Yeah, I'll go with Julian Lopetegui. You're delighted, here. This is like a holiday for you.
Yeah.
Watching us work.
I'll go
Watch
with,
you disrespect a great club.
go with David Moyes.
Oh, Moisey. I'll have
Twice.
Harry Redknapp.
E.
Very good.
I'll go for Slaven Bilic.
Nice. I'll go for Gianfranco Zola.
Nice.
Excellent.
Good one.
I'll go for Glenn Roeder.
Oh, nice.
Oh, the late great.
Alan Pardew.
Oh, lovely. Sam Allardyce.
Alan Kerbishley.
It's getting tight.
Avram Grant.
Yes.
And I'll have someone who isn't any of them. Come
Tell
on.
you what, they haven't actually had that many managers in their history.
No, they
It's more
haven't.
recently they changed them around.
There's only a couple left.
Mm-hmm.
It's Torres.
Oh, come on.
To give Chelsea.
Quick game's a good game.
The Champions League final. The headline has been written.
Pepe Mel.
Jim Campbell wins.
Yes! Come on, who do we miss?
Congratulations, Beltman. There we go.
did I miss?
2-1. Glorious victory for Jim Campbell. The two you missed, Billy Bonds,
I would have had him.
Manuel Pellegrini, after we've been talking about him all week.
Shut your noise.
The engineer.
Yeah. Billy Bonds was just like, I just should have said
Thought it was
that.
too long ago. Yeah.
If you just surely at some point.
My question before that was, what year was it again we're counting from?
Yeah. Good win, Jim.
Well done, Jim. Well played.
Bravo.
You got the belt back.
No way.